All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the April meeting of the Permanent Building Committee, where you've got several topics to discuss tonight. The DPW being the first, that we're going to spend a little time talking about the Lansing Millis train station project. And then finally, at the end of the evening, we will have an ESBC meeting. We've got a bill to pay, and I want to get an update on where we are so we can hopefully start the closeout period and get this project into the MSBA process of closeout and get our final payment from them and be done with that. So let's get started with the DPW. Robert, can you give us an update of what we've accomplished since the last meeting and a little bit of the 2-week look ahead? You're muted, Robert.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm going to share a screen, okay, Kim?
Sure.
Put a calendar up.
Yep.
Can you all see my 2-week look ahead? It's
Yep.
actually Nick Jensen's 2-week look ahead. This was actually submitted last Thursday, but what it shows is here under site work that drainage and sewer lines are still being done. That continues on for another couple more weeks. The electrical duct bank is underway. He is trying to finish up the site work as much as he can, especially around the buildings. Excitingly, the steel is up for the vehicle building, and the steel roof deck will be going up starting next week. The wood framing is pretty much complete for the staff building. The sheathing is on. He expects to be roofing that next week. At least he's got a vapor barrier up, which is kind of a temporary weather protection. Insulation and metal roofing needs to go on top of that. And when he gets those roofs on, he's going to be able to start rough interior MEP work. Big picture is everything's moving along nicely. I think they were casting concrete curbs today in the vehicle service building. As far as submittals go, the big kind of important submittal from Kingspan, that's for the insulated metal panels. We received that on Friday and we sent it back today. So that is basically a 2-day turnaround on that. There were a few comments, but I think that's we hope for a quick response from Kingspan and they can get into panel production.
Was their submittal following our requirements, or did you have a lot of rework, Robert?
Not a lot of rework, some detail stuff, but we were able to reach their draftsman and work through some of the differences and understand why they were doing it one way, whereas we had drawn it another way. We had used Kingspan's detail book as our basis of design, thinking that there was a high likelihood that they would be the low bidder. They often are against other metal panel building manufacturers. And so we started out from a good place where most of the details in our set are actually Kingspan details. And when they did one detail where we had shown another, we just tried to figure out why they were doing that. And so we sent back clear, concise comments. We hope to that will spur a quick turnaround on those. And then the lead time on the Kingspan panel production is the next big question. How quickly will they be able to turn shop drawings into product that can be loaded onto a truck and driven to Millis? And I don't know the answer to that, but hopefully
is their,
it's,
I was
where
just
is
going to
their,
ask that question.
where's their manufacturing site?
I want to say Pennsylvania. And they have several. They're national. And I think they have an East Coast operation in Pennsylvania. So not too distant.
Okay.
With a big company like that, with all due respect, this is a small project for them. It's not
Sure.
like a transshipment center on I-80 or something like that. It's a fairly small quantity of panels. And so getting their attention took a while, but finally they have zeroed in on this project. And now I hope they can quickly produce the stuff and ship it to JJ Cardosi to fasten to the building. Now the
Good.
frame is up.
Good. So did we resolve the purlin attachment for the roof of the building? I know there was an issue with how the purlins were sitting in their seats, and they were not. SGH was not happy with
Yep.
how they were resting. Give us a little rundown on that.
Sure. The open web joists, I think you mean, on the vehicle
Yeah.
service building. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were seated imperfectly in that the top chord of the open web joist, you want that to sit firm and flat on the beams that carry them. And they were not. There were little gaps that we hoped would be filled with shim, thin little bits of metal or some welding, and a lot of back and forth between Simpson Gumpertz Hager and the open web joist manufacturer, Can-Am Steel, I think is the name of the company. Their engineer said that, and then their engineer is the engineer of record for these, because in order to get competitive bidding, our structural engineer sort of designed a scheme for the span. Different open web joist manufacturers will use different components to achieve that. And so they have their own engineer to design the precise truss, and their engineer and our engineer went back and forth several times, and it settled out. We got a letter saying everything is fine from the Can-Am engineer. It wasn't perfect the way that Jason Barney wanted it to be, but they finally, Dominic Kelly and others at SGH said, this is actually within the standards of tolerance of the industry for open web joist manufacturers and erection.
So was there additional work done? Was there additional welding or shimming or anything done in the field?
A little bit. It wasn't completely perfectly executed, but it was, according to the engineers and according to Scott at Yankee Testing, it was all within the tolerances that the industry allows.
Okay.
So we would have been fighting an uphill battle to get it otherwise.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
Robert, so each and every joist is actually welded down at this point in time?
It is, yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
Robert, your earlier comment about site work, at our last construction meeting last Thursday, maybe Dave Ramachi can speak to this. Apparently we ran into some pretty large boulders, and then a boulder that required breaking up with the pneumatic hammer.
Yeah.
And I guess there was a slip for additional cost related to that. So I guess we'll be seeing a change order for that work.
Yeah, that falls within the unit pricing for, unknown subsurface conditions, rock removal. I can't remember how much it is per ton, $50 a ton or something like that. Yeah, we
Dave,
will see a change order for that.
Dave, do you know how many hours was associated with that, or what, or tonnage or whatever?
Yeah, it was 6 hours and it was about 26 yards.
Okay. Well, 26 yards is a fair amount of material. All right. Speaking of change orders, after our last meeting, I wrote an email. I copied some of you on it regarding proposed change order number 3, which was for winter conditions. And basically, it's about $19,000 if my memory serves me correctly, which is in large part made up of a single line invoice from Connolly, which is the concrete installer, at I think it's 141.5 hours at an $85 premium time rate, and that's by far the large part of the cost. I tried to verify that with Jim McKay, who had received the certified payrolls. Turns out that we only have a small portion of the certified payroll from Connolly, and so I could not match up hours or cost that anybody had been paid $85 an hour, and certainly the 2 or 3 people that we did have payroll records from was only partial and certainly all straight time. In addition, Dave Ramachi has been doing a terrific job of keeping a daily slip for each contractor, for laborers on site, the hours that they're actually there. So he's keeping track of crew size, equipment that each contractor brings on site, and materials. And so I tried to, Dave, that's terrific. And that, I think this is a great example of why that information is important and will come in very handy for us.
Thank you.
And I could not match up those hours with, and certainly any overtime with the notations that Dave had recorded on a daily basis. So I put all of that back to Cardozi. I've not heard anything. I don't know, Robert, if you've heard anything. It's been quiet. Not sure where that stands, but I think before we decide whether or not we owe anything for winter conditions, we need to know what the right number is.
Yep.
And having a single line invoice that talks about 141.5 hours at $85 an hour premium time is not the jumping off point. So,
yeah. Well, I think that Wayne, you're taking the right approach, and it's up to Jay Cardosi to deliver on all of that detail. Hold out on paying until you're satisfied that it makes good sense.
Right. Great. So I just wanted to let everybody know that change order, we had talked about it potentially being included in Cardozi's submittal tonight, and the lack of response or not being able to get any of that resolved has pushed it out. So I'm not sure when we're going to talk about it. But any settlement discussions about winter conditions would certainly be discussed with the committee before we talk to Cardozi, and but we need to verify the numbers. So that's where that stands. Um, Robert, anything else from a scheduling standpoint that you're worried about? You talked about Kingspan, but anything else that worries you at this point?
No, on the contrary, I feel pretty good about the way Nick is managing the project. I think that the on-site presence of John Bolster is quite robust. I understand that the subgrade utilities, a lot of the drainage pipes have very slight pitches because of the design and the tight tolerances. And when a pipe is set, he pours water down one end and makes sure it comes out the other one before he accepts that the work is done. When we had some, and just as an example, a little bit of change on the wood framing building about the bearing wall on the side of the building that has the overhang. The truss manufacturer wanted to run that bearing wall all the way up to the top chord of the truss, which was a bit of a change. And so they ran plywood all the way up. And we asked for linear soffit vent be cut into the soffit and of the overhang and insulation. And Nick Jensen was completely agreeable to make those changes. No resistance whatsoever. So
After the plywood is already up.
yeah, you had to take it
Yeah.
down and make some corrections.
Yeah.
Not a big thing, but just a good sign. He's
Yeah.
not. They're in construction, there's always a bit of a divergence as
Mhm.
things get built. Reality comes in, and you need to make quick adjustments. And they've been very good about that, and they've been responsive to our suggestions as things happen. So I'm going to be out there Thursday, and I really look forward to taking a good look at everything.
Good. Well, our meetings our weekly construction meetings are alternating on-site meetings. So this week is 10 a.m. Thursday is on-site. So anybody that would like to attend, where we'll be. So if you're available, please come out. But as to your comments about Cardozi, we all have a role here to play. We all have a responsibility to make this work. And I think so far everybody is carrying their weight, and we're all helping the process. So I think Robert, you and SGH are doing a good job in terms of getting all the details worked out and back to them in a timely manner. Our job is to oversee the process and get bills paid timely, make sure it's done according to the construction documents, and they're doing their job to build it. So I think we've got a good mix. We continue to have good relations with everybody. So let's hope that holds.
Yeah.
Any questions from the committee about progress, design? I know, Rich, you've had some comments about various aspects as you've taken a look at things. Anything you want to share with the group?
No, actually, he answered the questions in the last meeting, the construction meeting. So everything looks good to date.
Good. And John Larkin, I know you've been out a number of times. What's your take on how things are progressing?
I just had one question, Wayne, that I know Mike G. and Petro was on site last week. I think it was Thursday afternoon. Dave met with him. I just happened to be there by accident, really, and I kind of stayed out of the way. But my question is to Robert, really, as far as inspections go, G. and Petro was there for the wood frame building. Who's inspecting the steel building? Are affidavits being issued for those, or where are the approvals coming from?
Well, the building inspector will do the inspection for the town. Our engineers, Simpson Gumpertz Hager, well, and myself as well, we both submit affidavits, one at the beginning of construction saying that the design was prepared in full conformance with the building code, and we will be present on the site as necessary to make sure that it's built according to that design. And then at the end of
That was my
construction,
question. So you will be issuing affidavit?
oh yeah.
Yeah,
And there'll be
okay.
another one issued at the close of construction to close the
Okay,
permit.
great. That answers my question.
Okay, sure.
Dwayne, I have a question. So the red roof that's there now, that's just there as a vape, just an insulation barrier?
Yep. It's a
the same.
vapor barrier.
Okay, I was hoping that wasn't going to be one of the colors that we picked.
No, it's
And-
a,
Well,
it's a
that
peel
is
and
what you
stick.
picked, Jim. You
Did I pick that? Diane, did we pick that?
No, the roof will be a slate gray sheet
Yeah.
metal.
That's what I thought, yeah. And
Bold color choice.
yeah, the
You
open
don't like the
stuff-
red, Jim?
Yeah, it's red. The open end, is that just to get the mechanical units in there on the side with, yeah, that's right. Dave said, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I just thought they were getting a nice open window, floor
Oh.
to ceiling, the bus drivers. Make it look bigger.
And Robert, we'll talk about this on Thursday, but once we start doing interior work, once the building is weather tight, I'd like to see it locked up and secure, when the crews leave it in the evening. So I think we're a little ways from that, but and I think Cardozi has been agreeable to going ahead and doing that, but I think that's the right time to start
Yeah.
closing it up.
It's in their interest to do that.
All right. If there's any other questions, let's hear them. Otherwise, let's pay some bills.
All right, let me get some bills going here. So we can start off with the big one for JJ Cardosi in the amount of $177,593.
Now, I know Rich and John and Jim and Dave have all reviewed this. Any questions, comments about it?
No, everything looked fine.
All right. And I would entertain a motion to pay Cardozi the specified amount.
$177,000, 500 and, I can't see the last part.
Fine.
93.
93,
93.
Rich.
Okay, dollars. For work done in April, for the bill of April 13th, 2021.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? John Larkin? How do you
Aye.
vote? Diane Germain,
Aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
Craig Schultz,
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
So we'll move on to Taylor and Burns in invoice in the amount of $9,875
For the month of,
for March.
okay. I make a motion that we pay Taylor and Burns $9,875 for the month of March.
Second.
All right. I have a question for Robert. Robert, there's a portion in here for extra services.
Yep.
Can you explain to us what that entails?
Yes, that is for work by Simpson Gumpertz Hager civil team for in support of permits. And if you scroll down, you can see the detail on, there's one piece of it right there. And the remainder of it is, oh yeah, for consultant, well, for Emmanuel DeAndre. His hours, his rates, again, for civil permitting.
Okay.
That's a bona fide additional service per our contract.
All right. Diane Germain,
Aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
John Larkin,
Aye.
Craig Schultz,
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, we have Beta next for $1,100.13. And I will scroll down to the bill. Oops. Professional services from January 1st to February 26th.
Now, Jim, this is for 3 months, and I believe I just saw another bill from Beta for, I guess, Melissa's most recent visit to look at the retention pond. Is that all we would expect from Beta at this point?
I think the only other from the Board of Health, and I think it's in conjunction with the planning board, would be to review the as-bills that they're properly submitted.
All right.
That's correct. I talked to Melissa, and that's the last one, would be the as-built.
Are we, we're not paying Beta for any time that they incurred for the health department to complain about how the permitting process went, are we?
No, I believe that was part of their meeting through their original billing of that. That would be included in that.
All right, well, that's their issue as to how they decided to issue the permit. If there was extra cost, that should not be passed on to the project. All right. Did we have a motion on this bill?
Not yet.
All right,
Make a motion that we pay, what's the name of the company?
Beta.
Beta Engineering, is it?
Mhm.
$1,100.13 for work from January 1st to February 26th.
Okay.
been moved and seconded. Diane Germain,
Aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
John Larkin,
Aye.
Craig Schultz,
Aye.
Wayne
Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Just out of
Wayne,
curiosity, why does it take so long to get a bill? I mean, this is February. We had a March meeting.
I
Was it
think
not-
this particular one went to the building department first, or it went somewhere else and then finally made its way to us. So that
Yeah.
could be why for this particular one.
Okay,
Well, this is actually addressed to John McVeigh, so it may
I
have,
think we sent it to the building department, then the building department then sent it to Lisa, who then sent it to us. So it went a roundabout way.
Okay.
And Wayne, you mentioned another Beta invoice, which I haven't seen. Do you have that already, or?
I thought I just saw something. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought I saw something for just several $100s. Does that sound familiar, Jim? I would have thought you might have seen it.
I haven't seen it yet either. That's what.
I did talk to Melissa, and she said that she was out and inspected the
She did.
basin, and that was
Right.
that was the last, and she specifically told me that that was it until the as-built.
Okay. Right. I thought I saw a bill for that, but I could be mistaken. And I can't pull it up as we're speaking here now. So we'll just deal with it when it comes.
Okay. And then the last bill we have is for Putnam Pipe in the amount of $2,936.70. And I'll scroll down to the invoice so you can read. whatever. I'm not sure exactly what it's for. Maybe Jim, you could explain.
Yeah, Dave, it's just more,
That was all for the retention pond.
For the excellent work that the DPW did in constructing the necessary modification to the retention pond. So once again, saving the town quite a bit of money by self-performing this work. So
And Wayne, actually, I would like to say that Melissa said that they actually did a great job on doing that. So you're getting a compliment also from an engineer.
Thank you.
excellent. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the invoice for 2,900 and $36.70 for Putnam Pipe for bill for pipe for the project dated April 13th, 2021.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. Diane Germain,
aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
Craig Schultz,
Aye.
John Larkin,
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right, is that all of the bills that we have?
That's all the bills we have for PVC, yes.
What about, Kim, what about the inspections? I thought we had,
We do have that, but that's what I sent an email to you to clarify, because I thought you just do what you do for my pay sheet where you forward that to Debbie and then she pays it.
That's correct. Yes, you're right. So that does not require a vote by the committee. So do you have that handy that you can just put that up on the screen so that we can show the rest of the committee what that looks like?
I don't have it on, I actually have it printed out. We could maybe hold it up, which is not very technical, but we'll see if it'll work.
Well, I can describe it. It's a spreadsheet with how many.
Oh, that's good, Kim.
I mean, it has 7 inspections at $40 a piece. The total is $280. There are 2 excavation inspections, 2 foundation inspections, and 3 other, which look like plumbing and electrical.
All right. So I normally approve pay slips for Kim and have been doing that for a number of years. And so the process that has been worked out to pay these inspectors by our chief financial officer is that we'll pay those. I can sign them as I would for Kim's payroll. And then we need to send that, Kim, to Robert and to Cardozi because they need to reimburse us. They own the cost of these inspections. So we'll have a change order, a credit change order at the end of the project for all of these inspections. And that's why I want to keep it separate. We'll pay those and then get reimbursed at the end of the project. So that's how that is all being accounted for. Any questions on that? All right. Any other discussion about the DPW project?
Wayne, could I ask a question?
Sure.
It's a more general question because I know not for the DPW project, but some projects in the not too distant past. We had some, I'll call it payment process, AP processing issues that arose and bills are being submitted and for some reason they were being delayed in the system. Either at the treasurer's office or at the chief financial officer or the accounting office. Have we pretty much resolved that from your perspective that we're processing these in a timely way now?
That's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked it. I think the person who's in the best position to answer it is Kim. Kim, what's your take on it?
Yeah, as far as I know, everything's being paid on time. I have been asking for monthly reports, which would confirm that. However, I have not received those yet. But I believe that there's been no issue brought up to me as far as payment with any of the invoices that we've submitted.
It's my impression, Jim, is that the whatever relationship that seemed to have existed previously, which was kind of an arm's length relationship, I think has been resolved. And so we are getting some confirmation of when bills are actually paid. And so there's no question in our mind now that when we submit something that it's just sitting there in the dead space and not being processed.
Other than the inspection bill wandering through town hall from office to office before it finally got to the right place.
Well, yes,
Okay.
well,
But
but
Kim,
that's,
could I ask Kim, if you have made a request, could you just send me an email saying this is what the request was, and maybe I can
Sure.
like to see a little bit better reporting, because I see these things when I have to look at the AP report, but I don't know, like payments to Robert's firm and others, but I don't know how long it took to find its way onto the payables report. So
I can tell you in my instance, we received a check yesterday.
Okay.
That was voted by you all last month. So that's payment within 30 days.
Okay.
It was nicely, it was prompt by most standards.
so good, and it was correct in addition to being on time.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you. I
So
didn't mean
just-
to
just a little-
wander off this.
Jim, I think
Sure
the
that we're working
beta,
together, like you say.
I think the beta invoice that went all over the place was incorrectly addressed by Beta. It went to
Yeah.
the Board of Health, I don't think that's usual.
Yeah, one-off things like that were not the problem, right?
No,
There was
I know.
consistent issue. Okay, thank you.
but I think some oversight is prudent, just to make sure that the process continues to flow as we would all expect, and that we pay these people promptly, because we're asking them for an awful lot of effort, and paying their bills is the most important thing that we can do for them. So we should keep an eye on it. All right. If there are no other questions regarding the DPW, then Robert and Jim and Dave, you're welcome to stay, or if you'd like to go on to other things this evening, please do so.
Wait, I do have a question. Julie Allen reached out yesterday. I don't know if you're going to talk about this now or later. She's looking to, are they coming back to do landscaping? Is that? And-
They're planting some grass.
Okay.
And I know that they've asked permission to hook up a meter to a hydrant so that they can do some watering. And
Just
I
so
think
Dave knows that too, because I don't know if I usually tell Dave 10 seconds before somebody's coming to do something.
so. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay, all right. So, well, that'll certainly help them. I want to get the Clyde Brown project wrapped up, and that is the very last piece. So we're going to talk about that a little later, but being able to water the lawn will be instrumental in getting that.
Yeah, it's better than bringing the truck. They used to bring a water truck and
Yeah. Well, that was frankly because the Millis water ban.
Well, I was going to say, Jim, maybe you give a little preview.
You're going to be voting on that probably at your next meeting. So if it doesn't go into effect till May, so.
Okay.
That'll be good.
Well, can we water the lawn with PFAS,
Please, please.
All of wells 1 and 2 that you want.
yeah,
Yes, yeah. Well,
All right.
we gotta bleed it off, so,
Please.
all right.
thank you.
Well,
Thanks, everyone.
thanks, everyone. Good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks. Good to see you all.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks, Robert. See you on Thursday.
Yep.
All right, so the next order of business is to talk about the Lansing Millis building. And Jim, maybe just a very quick update from you where the select board sits with it and the CPC committee. So can you just give us the briefest update on where that stands?
Sure. It all started in a log cabin back in Illinois when I was splitting rails. Very quickly, as the PBC indicated, you guys came up with a proposal or a bid, if you will, for what we call stabilization work. It went to the select board. And not only did you just ask us to think about the stabilization project, we also asked us to think about what the end game was for the building. Since we are without money, we did refer this over to the the Community Preservation Committee, which took a look at it and said, first of all, that their policy program process is almost always a shared responsibility, not a sole responsibility. So they were very concerned that the town's proposal did not include some participation by, I'll call it the municipal budget. But they did agree to go and do their own independent review of the building. So a number of them went out, took a look at the building, got a sense of what it looks like and where it stands. Then we had another meeting with them. In the meantime, the town administrator had done a review of possible funding from the town. We did unearth or rediscover an outstanding warrant article that was originally passed in 2017 for fixing the roof on the Clyde Brown building, which due to the fact that we built a new building was never spent, fortunately. So the select board went to the CPC and said that we may have found some funding. But long story short is the CPC felt that they were not in a position to offer any support at this point in time. And frankly, if you had been there, you would have felt like it was a rerun of this committee's discussion about, until you tell us what you want to do with this building, it's hard for us to support expenditures in that way. So it went back to the select board. We discussed last night, I think it was last night. Is this Tuesday? Yeah, last night, the application of this $48,000 amount. Select board decided that the select board itself had not reached the conclusion as to what the outcome would be for that building. So we did not vote to support spending that money even in the interim or making it available for some, holding action. Instead, the board voted to request consideration of the town to reapply that money to road repair. So long story short is, at this stage of the game, the board would expect to go to town meeting and in the short run, ask for dismissal of the article because we don't have funding. And then hopefully get back to the job you and others have asked us to do in the first place, which is to try and come up with a rationale for what we want to do with the building one way or the other, because at this point, it seems that it'd be tough to get people to agree to expending funds on it without a better purpose. Now, I would hope in the meantime also, though, that, and working with you folks and maybe Bob Weiss and others, there was talk in the report about trying to do something with respect to potential grant funding for historic buildings or restorations or whatever. So I think we have to follow that path as well. And the telling item will be in the fall town meeting is frankly, whether or not we find that there's a robust free cash available. And then if there is, then still, I think we'd have to come up from the board's point of view with a much more firm objective for the project, rather than simply let's let's rehab the building and see what happens.
So I think the position of this committee was that irrespective of what the town decides to do with the building,
Right.
the roof would always need to be replaced, and that cost would need to be spent at some point, and it would be better to spend it now to prevent further damage than to wait. And I know, Jim, you had asked me whether or not some lesser amount could be spent to do something that would inhibit future or further damage. And frankly, my feeling is there may be small dollars that might be necessary for a roofer to come from time to time to patch a leak. My advice would be, in the absence of spending money to make permanent fixes, that the town regularly inspect the property, and if there are issues, whether or not they're water leaks, which is the major issue, or vandalism or rodents, that the town be prepared to address those as they arise. So I would ask the town administrator to make sure, put it on a diary, a regular inspection, so that we monitor the condition of the building.
I think that's certainly something that I can convey back to the town administrator, and we will try to make that happen. I don't want to. I believe that the board, the intent of the board would be to develop something a little bit more robust, because I think we're all we realize that whereas the risk may be, I don't want to call it minor, the risk of further deterioration is there, but it's not imminent like tomorrow. But if we punt this again in November, we're really starting to run the risk that we're going to run into serious structural damage. I think that's kind of the way the board would look at it. Now, I can't speak for the board because we didn't vote on it, and I'm certainly not going to speak for the board after May 10th. But I think that that's certainly, there's a appetite for taking initiative here and trying to come to some resolution of this. But it turned, with the dollar amount for the initial plan, and this is the stabilization plan, in a sense, it was too much at too late, not from the PBC's point of view, but from the way the budget was, being worked on and continues to be worked on. We didn't have I don't want to sound like a cop out, but I mean, we just weren't able to pull it together in time for making a recommendation to the town or the finance committee, because we didn't have it articulated well enough as to what we were going to do. Because even $350,000 for a building you're not quite sure what you're going to do with is a bit of a hard sell.
Okay. So I see Bob Weiss is here with us. Bob, what's your thought about developing options for future use? I know you've talked about this building as being a bookend for retail, the retail commercial space on Exchange Street there. But I think what the town is looking for is something, certainly more concrete. And Ellen Rosenfeld has been public about willing to support it in some fashion. I think others in town would as well, but I think a plan needs to be developed. And so I guess my question is, now that we're at this juncture, any ideas from you as to what we can do at this point?
Well, I'm thinking back to my days as a working as a nonprofit or for a nonprofit developer, and we owned we owned a building that was a commercial building, which was going to have, which we wanted to remain a commercial building. We just had owned it for years. We didn't know what to do with it. We tried getting it out there into the market and weren't very successful. And the first thing we did was we found a real estate marketing company. They came up with some great ideas, and you know they were able to get out there and analyze the building. I know we've just done that with an architectural firm. So that might be one direction we want to go.
Okay.
So you know, we've talked about doing, you know, renting it out, refurbishing it so it fits, you know, maybe if it's a small retail on the bottom and something, even a residential on top, or even selling it off as a residential. So there's still a lot of possibilities out there. I don't think much. I think that we have at least 4 options we can choose from that came from SS&V. But you know, perhaps, and I should also mention that we're going to be working on a plan for the area coming up in the early part of this summer with the Urban Land Institute, and that will, you know, we'll be talking more to the stakeholders of the area, the people who are already doing business there, the people who own property there, some of the commercial owners, maybe some residential owners, to see where we want to go in that direction. So in the next couple of months, we'll get some more information about that. So we might want to hire a commercial, you know, just a commercial company. There's really no cost. We could have a limited limited time contract with them, see what they can do to get it out there, and maybe have it, sell it or rent it out, or whatever we want to do. But so in the next couple of months, I think we'll get some more information and maybe see, you know, what the area people who are stakeholders in the area want the area to go, want to see of the town center, and maybe that'll help us fit the development for this particular building into that vision.
I think, you know, that may be a good place to start, is to develop a list of options. I know, Jim McCaffrey, you had mentioned the historic building or in Medway that had been added on to and converted into a events type space.
That's the fair building, which is, I forget the name of the pond there, but it's really quite extensive and a very successful project. The only thing I would say about that is the town still owns it. The town still manages it. They make money on it, but I'm not sure they make money to pay off the loan that they, you know, to do the rehab. And they have, of course, substantial contributor to their success, which is Exelon, which is paying them in lieu of taxes $3 million a year for 20 years. So they did use some of that money to rehab the property. But it's also, if you go over there, I mean, they've done a beautiful job on the little pond there. They've got walking trails around it. They have, you know, a playground, but butting it is this historic property, the Fair building, with, you know, the main part of the building rehab. It's a wooden structure, and then, you know, an annex, if you will, that is a little more modern, but clearly does fit in with the overall project. So it's the kind of thing you look at and you say, boy, I wish we could, you know, do something similar for something like the you know, the Lansing Mills building.
All you have to do, Jim, and then it's bringing $3 million a year. So hire up Exelon to come in here.
Well, we're hoping that people
Down that
will
road,
just
Jim.
smoking marijuana up the wazoo. That's
I know Jim and I spoke to Exelon years ago about another issue, so I don't think we're going to go down that road again ever.
no. We were
Mr.
left
Chair.
at the altar with that one.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Chair, one thing that I would like to just to bring up is that initially when we did the review, the thought of the single family residence was kind of voted off. With now commercial being maybe less of an opportunity and maybe the opportunity of selling it off and keeping the exterior as an option, that might be something we may want to think about.
Well, and Rich, that's I think the hurdle that we need to get over is what are the options and then considering those options, what is the town willing to do about them? So if we were to sell it, does the town agree that that's okay with some historic preservation restrictions on the deed that would, require it to be maintained in a certain fashion? Or would the town, if we want to do something like the Medway Thayer building, be interested in being a landlord and having events and issuing liquor licenses or whatever for that kind of operation? I don't, I'm not sure what all is involved, but I think the town needs to understand what its options are and decide whether it's got an appetite for some or all or none of them. To me, I think that's kind of the next step, but again, we've kind of stirred the pot here a little bit, and nothing is really rising to the surface here to say, yeah, this is something we really think would be great for this building, and in a direction that we'd like to go in. And so I think more effort needs to be done to just determine what our options are.
And I think the thing is, jumping on Jim's point, is that, I think unfortunately, when we kick the can down the road, the next thing you know, it'll be another 10 years. And I don't think it'll survive that long.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I'm pretty adamant, Rich, about not investing a little bit of money to do something with the building, because then that is in fact kicking the can down the road, and then it'll be a much different discussion later on.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I was able to talk to, I didn't even know we had this division, our historic house division in the trustees. So and not about this property, I wasn't soliciting management or anything else, but I was doing their budget review, and we'd spend a half hour talking about historic homes, houses, and buildings with this in mind. And then she Googled it and told me all about it. But we own 6 or 7 historic houses, and for years, the trustees, and for years, when we get them, we do exactly what we're talking about. We spend a large amount of money relative to stabilize the outside without even walking in the door. So from the outside, it's a beautiful historic building. We did it with the Bradley Estate. We did it with Namkeg out in Western Mass, the Crane Estate. That was good when we got it. But a lot of the other ones were just, buildings that needed stabilization on the outside for a few $100,000. And then we came back, in some cases 20 years later, and started working on the inside. And then we have a rental group that runs weddings and other items there, for us and other events. But she was saying that even if you do these other piece we do is we acquire historic homes, put all sorts of easements and restrictions on them, and then resell them to a homeowner that wants it to be historic. You do that with commercial building too. And we have a person on our staff who visits every one of our farms and historic homes twice a year to make sure that the exterior, the easements and the restrictions we put in place are being enforced. It's the same with conservation easements and everything else. So there are groups other than the trustees. I'm not using this as a commercial for them, but there are multiple groups that will take over the easements and historic trust and deed restrictions for you if we decide to go that way. If the town decides that all at once, or it can afford, that might be a better way to put it, is a historic, well-preserved exterior to the building, and we don't care what happens on the inside, there are options. But I think the key is getting it into a marketable shape for the outside, to get somebody to, if they're interested in picking it up, or just preserve it as a historic, beautiful exterior with nice gardens around the outside, and it just looks great always. And that's as far as it goes. I mean, they do absolute minimal on the inside to stabilize the building, and I'm no builder, so I don't know what that requires, but there was a little heat. There were a few little things they did, but it was just basically just a shell that a sculpture is what they thought of it as for a long time. 20 years later, donors came up and stepped forward, and $5 million later, the Namkeg house is open. Some of these other buildings are beautifully restored, but there are options, but the key is to preserve it at some point.
All right, well, and I would think that based on the work we've already done, we've got a pretty good idea. Maybe it's not $363,000, might be even somewhat larger than that to do a complete restoration, because some of the fascia and soffit was just a portion, that we, absolutely had to do, but it was a complete roof. But that might be a total project of, at least in that range. Robert, I know that SSV said that they certainly are in the business of assisting communities with applying for state grants. Maybe that's the next step, is to go back to them, and and maybe that's again one of the options that we consider, and see how much funding is available. I think it would be easier to get the CPC to make a decision, other than try to find ways to say no, which I felt was really the tenor of the last meeting with them. And that might be a concrete way to proceed.
I'll ask our grants person if she has any leads other than state leads too. I mean, we can't apply for it, but she knows sources, and we'll see if there's anything that might be an outreach.
Wayne, if I could just, I don't want to leave the impression with folks that the CPC was opposed to coming up with a way to preserve this building. And there was discussion of other buildings that they have invested in, including Niagara Hall, including the farmhouse, including the Ellis School roof. And then there was the conversation about, now that we've done this, what are we doing with those buildings? Right. There was, back and forth over, well, not good to make an evaluation right now because of COVID and whatnot, but to add another building that, is preserved but not used didn't seem to be of very much interest to them. So I think they're willing to work with us and the Historical Commission as well, whether it's PBC or Select Board or whatever. It's just that without a compelling reason at this point, they weren't willing to commit any of the funds.
Okay.
I did speak to a realtor. I tried to get Mark Spangenberg, who's now no longer on the Economic Development Committee. And so I talked with his wife, Robin, and her idea wasn't a bad one. She said, there isn't anywhere around here for me to go and get a gift for somebody, a birthday gift, a hostess gift, or whatever. She said, every town has gift shops in it except Millis. I said, okay, it's not a bad idea. But the house is, or the building is zoned residential. Can we do commercial in there?
I thought the zoning was
Yeah, I think it's
not
commercial.
Part of the, well, it is part of the MCEOD.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's an overlay district. It allows, it does allow commercial, allows a lot more it allows us to do a lot more with the building than just the underlying zoning. I don't know, Rich, maybe you want to check?
Yeah, I think if it's in the MCOD, I think I would have to check it, but I would imagine that we could, they could do retail in that area.
I thought that I heard at one of the meetings that it stopped just short of that building.
right. Nicole Riley at the CPC meeting last week said that it was not in the.
Okay, all right.
overlay.
Yeah, it might, it's really close to that area, so that might be the cutoff.
Stopped right there at the tracks or something, because she looked on her maps and said it's just outside. Interpret that how you will. Yeah.
All right. Well, Jim and Bob, I think the PBC again is kind of gone as far as we can at this point. I think we've made a recommendation. I think we'd like to help in any way that we can. But I think the next steps are for others to do, at least at this point, in terms of developing options that will get us maybe to November's meeting with something more concrete.
I would agree.
Yeah. Well, I'm very happy to talk to SS&D and talk and take a look at possible grants out there. Also, I think the Economic Development Committee might want to take this into its into its interest and take a look at what can be done as well, since it's a district that they're very interested in working in.
Well, and Bob, this is a building that's very important to the town. To me, I think we should be actively promoting it and, trying to find a use, a tenant, some kind of purpose for it.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Well, anything else on the Lansing Millis building then?
Well, I just like to thank the committee for the work it's done in taking a look at this building and investigating it, basically, virtually tearing it apart and putting it back together and finding out where it has to go from here as a building.
Well, thank you for that. But I really think we landed on the right architect. I think this is right in their wheelhouse, and they did a terrific job and a good service to us by issuing such a complete report. So I think we're in a good position to know, really what the condition of the building is. So that was kind of easy for us to do.
Good.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I see John Engler is sitting here patiently. We're going to talk about the wrapping up the Clyde Brown project. So if there's anything else for the PBC.
Can we approve minutes?
Nah,
I saw your finger waving there. All right.
Sometimes that works better.
All right.
Minutes from March 16th for PBC.
And I'll say goodbye.
All right.
Bye, Bob.
Goodbye, everybody.
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes of the March 16th PBC meeting as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? Diane Germain,
aye.
John Larkin, Craig Schultz,
Aye.
Rich Nichols.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right, before we sign off on this meeting, let's set a date for our May. And again, I think, so a couple things. We need to get the pencil rec from Cardozi to Robert Taylor in time for them to review. So, and then Rich, not be in conflict with the planning board. How does the 18th look?
That's fine. Ours is on the 11th.
All right, Kim, can you post our next PBC meeting for the 18th of May?
Sure. Yep.
All right, great. And I think we will do that as a combined PBC ESBC meeting as well, or
Okay.
certainly do both at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure who is not. John, are you on the ESBC, John? I've lost track of
John Larkin, you talking?
John
Oh.
Lark.
No, I am not.
Well, you're welcome to stay, or if you would.
I have a parachute on right now.
Smart man.
He's bailing out. All right.
Take care, everybody.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Night, John.
All right. So, Kim,
Yes.
we're still rolling, right?
We are, yeah.
All right, so I'd like to welcome everyone to the April meeting of the Elementary School Building Committee, of which we have members Diane Germain, Craig Schultz, Rich Nichols, and myself. Jim McCaffrey ex officio, John Engler is ex officio. And I think we've got two things to discuss tonight. Is we've got a bill to pay for Compass for 3 months of their management services, essentially for the first quarter of the year. But more importantly, I want to set up a closeout of the meeting, and there's been some discussion, or a closeout of the project, I should say. There's been some discussion as recently as today about Central Nurseries completing their work, and they've asked for a release of at least some of their retainage. I know we're holding a substantial portion of retainage for Agostini. So I think we're getting very close to the time where we need to draw this project to a conclusion. And so in order to do that, the last remaining piece is the work that Central Nurseries is doing to get the grass and the turf and all the rest of the landscaping wrapped up. Is that your feeling, John?
Yeah, can you hear me? Am I good?
Yep.
So yeah, I talked to Chris earlier today as well. I guess the landscaping and the beds are pretty much under our control right now. It's pretty much just the grass we're waiting to come back. He did ask me about some trees. I believe there's still a handful of trees that they didn't do in the fall that they need to come back and finish up on. They have come out on the 2nd of April and their first application of a crabgrass control and a pre-emergent, I believe. And I do know that they reached out to the town, where Julie has, as far as watering and actually tying into the fire hydrant once they put a meter on it and stuff like that. So they are doing as they asked to this point.
So just for your information, Jim McKay was on earlier for the DPW project, and he did mention that he had received that request and agrees that the hydrant can be used with a meter on it. So he's fine with that. I don't know if
that will be fine until if we go into some sort of drought. I mean, that's why we had to stop last year. They had to stop watering. They needed to bring in their watering truck at one point.
Right. Jim?
All likelihood, you're going to be good till May 1st.
Okay, so we've got a couple of weeks.
I mean, this is something that the select board will be discussing our next meeting, and it's virtually imposed on us by the DEP. So not that I'm making excuses, but it's just not exactly clear how, whether it's going to be odd even. I don't think it's going to be as stringent as like other towns, some of them, but I don't know yet.
All right.
Just stick it on for the first couple of weeks and really irrigate the hell out of it.
All right. All right. Is there anything else in the project, John, that's cropped up, punch list, any other punch list item or anything else that would preclude us from closing out the project?
We might be still having a heat issue in 250, believe it or not. We are still working on that at the moment. That temperature gauge, the thermostat that was put into the boiler room, it was set at 75, so we dropped that a little bit. We are working into those two rooms. Again, it's that room 250 and 254, which is the room further away from the bathroom. So we're trying to work with Ted and seeing if we can regulate it somehow on our end, offset it a little bit more. So, but it has come up that it's been warm in there again. Just want to bring that to your attention. Besides your, replacing things here and there that, that just went out. you know, unfortunately, some of the stuff hasn't been under warranty either. But, you know, besides the nursery and besides the grass, I think that's the only thing that's really holding us on. I will, maybe we can meet up and go over this 250 again at some point if you have an opportunity. But
Well, then let's do that because we set a meeting for May 18th. Is that the right date? And then maybe you and Chris and I, maybe, I don't know if Julie needs to come out or not, but let's get everything identified because we need to close this up with the MSBA because there's up to a year or about a year's worth of auditing or process that takes before we get our final accounting and hopefully final payment. So
yeah, this 250 is about a week old, maybe a week and a half old. So you know, we're wondering if it's again just.
All right, so I'll reach out to Chris. Let's set something up either later this week or early next week to come out and take a look at it.
Vacation next week, anytime next week would be great.
Okay, then we'll do it. We'll do it early next week then.
Cool.
All right, and again, any of the committee that would like to attend, if your schedule allows it, please let me know. We'll all get together. All right, and then I will let Chris know that watering is okay with the hydrant at least till May 1st, and hopefully we'll get this grass established and close that part out too. And if you could confirm whether or not there are in fact any trees, John, because what I had heard was all of the trees and shrubs that had been taken care of in the fall. So I'm not sure if that's the case or not. If that's not your understanding, if you could let us know, that would be great.
Yeah, Chris and I were talking about that. We thought is it David Warner? I think David Warner.
Yeah.
But I can dig up that email that said that we still had a couple because we were hoping to use one of those trees for the Nancy.
Got it.
Vacation.
That's right.
But
okay. All right. I will then the ball's in my court. I'll reach out to Chris. We'll set something up for next week and we'll define the tree issue and we'll get the grass watered and hopefully wrap this up. I would like to either close it out on the 18th or release a significant part of the retainage and get that done and then do whatever we need ministerially to close up the project.
18th of May.
Right.
Great.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Thank you. Everything else going good? You're back. Everybody's back in school?
Clyde Brown, everyone's in at Clyde Brown. As of the 26th, all of middle school will be in. And then as of the 4th, all of the high school will be in.
Wow.
So we're unpacking storage tubes as we speak.
All right. Well, I don't envy you. I know you've been through an awful lot. I'm glad that we were able to get our part of our project done, so that wasn't something you had to deal with in conjunction with the whole pandemic. So,
but no, if anything, I mean, the only drawback was the collaborative thought process. You know, we had all those big tables that really kicked us a little bit because who would have anticipated a pandemic? But you know, the school, between the ventilation and the size and the space, and it's been, I think it's probably put a lot of those teachers at ease because I could not imagine doing this at the other Clyde Brown without it.
That's an excellent point. Had we been left with the old building, you might have had different alternatitres.
But then again, that roof was pretty permeable, so we were getting some serious ventilation at that place.
True, that's true.
Good to see you again, John. It's been a while.
Yep. All right.
Wow.
So, John, I'll reach out to you and we'll set something up for early next week.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Great. Thank you. All right. Anything else that we need to talk about in relation to the Clyde Brown project?
We have to approve the Compass invoice.
Okay. Can you pull that up?
Yes, yeah. So we have a Compass invoice for $3,368. And I'll just scroll down to the actual invoice. Whoops. And this was for from December 27th to March 27th for the work that they've done between that time.
I think this is relatively nominal and reasonable for that period of time.
I make a motion to approve the invoice for Compass Project Management in the amount of $3,368 for work done between December 27th, 2020 and March 27th, 2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right. Diane Germain,
Aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
Craig Schultz,
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Great.
All right. So as I indicated earlier, let's plan on meeting with the ESBC on May 18th as well. Between now and then, I will be working with Chris Eberly to determine whether or not we'll release retainage for both Central Nurseries and Agostini. I think that's the only other remaining item is on the tennis courts. They were going to come back and look at the painting, the color that they did over the patch that was done in the fall. And I think we retained some money for that, for them to come back and do that. But I can't think that there's anything else that's remaining. And I was glad to hear John come up with a list of other things that we hadn't heard of previously. So I think we're in good shape. We just need to run these last few to ground and then we'll be done.
Long career.
It has been. It's probably, has it been 5 years?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been probably 5 years we've been working on this. So it'll be nice to be done with it.
But it's
All
also
right.
good to hear him say that he was happy with the building, especially in comparison to the old one.
Well, that was a good point. Frankly, I hadn't thought about it, but that was an excellent point.
And Wayne, I kind of miss the days that you and I and Diane were at the dump and people were driving by flipping us the bird.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it was cold too. And so, not only were we getting insulted, but we were pretty uncomfortable while they were doing it. So, yeah, but we've persevered and things, if they were easy, they wouldn't have got done. It's the hard things that are worth doing. So I think.
Well, you're going to have to, when you wrap it up, you're going to have to take your Target shirt with the target on its back and turn it in for the next.
All right.
Please, no.
All right. So do I have a motion to adjourn for the ESBC?
Move we adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Second,
All right.
third, whatever.
That road.
I would like to stay on a little bit and talk to Diane. Kim, can we do that, or do we, will it? Can
You're muted, Kim.
Yep, I just realized, sorry. I'm just gonna stop the recording.
Okay, and then we can.
If we've adjourned the meeting officially, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording and then the rest of us can leave and you can stay and talk to whoever you'd like.
Then
That would
when
be
we're
great.
done, just get off.
Yep, just hang
Okay,
up.
great. Thank
Okay.
you.
Kim, if you leave, will it close the meeting? Because that's happened to me, but I don't know.
I will check. Usually it'll pop up and say end meeting for all. I will make sure I do.
Okay, all right. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
All right. Good
Night.
night.